Do you think that you were, how do you feel about as much money as it cost you to have it fixed?
I think it costs too much.
I feel we've been taken, that they overcharged us.
See, frankly, I get a little bit suspicious because of the previous action that the Attorney General's office had to take against you for claiming that you did work that wasn't done. And here, these older people who claim they were taken advantage of come up with the same story.
They agreed to everything on that paper.
There was nothing on that paper. When did you deliver that paper?
On the other paper you have there.
There's nothing on the other paper.
This is the bill they signed before.
But you have to give them an itemized bill.
That is the estimate.
You sent us on a dangerous mission, and we'll show you what happened tonight when we show you the rest of Qubesumers Mean Business.
I'm Ohio Attorney General Bill Brown. It's not easy being a smart shopper these days, but with the help of Mr. Qubesumer, John Steinberg, most of us in Central Ohio are becoming just that. John lets us know what to look for and how not to get ripped off.
What you see next to me is something we won before, and I have to tell you a little bit about that before we tell you what we're going to do with it. Because we won that award, that is for the best series of this type, any type of documentary or public affairs series in the country, and that's given by the National Cable Television Association. And you really won that by your touch-ins and by how you've shown we can be effective consumers here working as one right here in Columbus, Ohio on Qube. Now because of that, we've decided to institute a new program. And we're going to award every month trophies, awards to our Qubesumer of the month. Someone who really learns from our shows and goes out and can solve a consumer problem by themselves for an area where they get stuck in a store, say for bad advertising or something. We got this idea because we had a gentleman come to us from Gahanna the other day who actually did solve a problem. And we're going to honor him Tuesday night, and we're going to give you the chance then to let us know what you have done so we can honor you too. Similarly, we're going to honor the store. Now, if you remember the other night, we started to show you a little bit about refrigerator repairs, and then you voted on some things which we'll get into later. Before we go any further on that, though, because an important question was raised on this since we met last, and we've got to ask you a question, and that specific question is, for you tonight, when you've needed something fixed, how did you choose the specific repair company? You touched button number 1 if it was a company you used before and it was okay. Button number 2 if it was recommended to you by a friend or someone you knew. Button number 3 if you just went through the phone book. Button number 4 if you knew an employee of the company. And button number 5 if it's for some other reason. And touch when you see the sign, please. Okay, what I see, most of you, almost half out of everyone, 48% used a phone book. And that's an important issue here because certain allegations were made and then denied by the people you sent us out to check on. But we have to give you a little bit of a recap on that because you sent us to do a certain function, and what that was about were the 2 builds here. The top one is the one the Kempels got. Remember now, they're an elderly couple living on East Weber Avenue. And the top one was for $140. It was not itemized. After a month haggling time with the company, we didn't identify the company. That company's name, though, is Abbott Washer and Dryer Repair. They finally got a bill for the $140, and there were some problems on that. So I want you to watch this carefully because what is going to be shown here is what we go ahead, following your orders, and report to the gentleman who owns Abbott. Now, we took along Roy Boylan, who is Qube's maintenance and repair expert, so that he also could check out the Kempels refrigerator.
Okay, then you needed a repairman, obviously. How did you find out about this company?
Telephone book. I looked it up in the Yellow Pages. and they're right down the street from me on Weber Road.
Now, you called them,
Yeah.
and then what did they tell you over the phone?
They'd be right out that morning.
Okay, now, when they came out, though, you weren't here at that exact moment, but Mrs. Kemple was. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah.
And then what happened, Mrs. Kemple, when they got here?
They asked me what was wrong, and I told them that the refrigerator was clicking on and off, that it wasn't freezing.
And then what did they do?
They pulled the refrigerator out and said it needed Freon. So the boy went out and got the tank and brought in, put Freon in it, and said that they cleaned a connector off.
Well, did they tell you any price before they started?
Yes, 125.
For the total job?
Yes.
They didn't then tell you that it was going to be another $15 for the service call?
Not until he came, and then they added the bill up.
Okay, now, how long were they here before Mr. Kemple came home?
About 5 minutes, no longer than 10.
Now, Mr. Kemple, when you came home, what did you find?
They had, the boy was down back of the refrigerator, and the man met me at the door and told me the price of $125, and I said, well, I'll just forget it, I'll buy a new one. He says, no, you get in more trouble buying a new one than you would having this one fixed. So he went ahead and fixed it, and then when I went to pay him,
But
he
you
said,
told him it was all right to fix it?
yeah. And then he said, give me a bill for $140. And I wrote him out a check, and they was gone. They wasn't here a half hour.
Did you question him at all why it was 140 rather than
I
125?
never said a word to him.
Did he mention anything to you as to why he didn't charge tax on that?
No. And the only thing he done was had me initial the bill in 2 places after I'd paid him.
Were they here for 2 hours?
No. And that 2 hours wasn't on there when I signed it.
How long were they here?
About a half hour altogether.
How do you feel about it, Mr. Kemple?
I feel we've been taken, that they overcharged us.
Okay, Mr. Boylan, now we brought you along out here because you are Qube's engineering supervisor, and in that capacity, I suppose that you are responsible for the maintenance of all the equipment down at Qube?
Yes, that's correct.
In your line of work, though, we have no refrigeration units there, but are you familiar at all with refrigerators and how they operate?
Yes, John, I've had some of personal experiences, such as the one you're investigating today, and we are required at Qube to maintain an elaborate cooling system, which all works on the same principle.
Okay, Roy, now, if some parts had been replaced or if some soldering had been done, and all this done very recently, would you be able to tell, or would the parts look different, or would you be able to tell the soldering, the leak plugging marks?
Generally speaking, I believe I would.
Okay, the reason we brought you out here, though, is I've gotten somewhat confused because the Kemples had this repair work done in the middle of July. It took them an entire month of calls to get back an itemized bill from the company saying what was done. They couldn't figure out what was done. And at the same time, the man who was here told them that all he did was change the Freon when he was here. As you're looking at it, though, do you see where they have an item on there for repairing leaks? Do you see any spots where leaks might have been repaired?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that. I see no repairs on the coils. Again, I'm not an expert, but I do see that the item listed as charging valve has been replaced. Beyond that, I really don't see any attempt to repair a leak in the Freon network.
Have you been in contact with the company again to see if you can get any of the money back?
My grandson has.
That's Mel Garrison.
Yeah.
All right, now, Mel, how did you get involved with this for your grandparents?
Well, after they told me what happened, I thought that they had been overcharged, so then I decided to make some phone calls and see what exactly happened.
And do you think they happened?
Oh, yes.
Overcharged?
Yes.
Did you deal at all with the company on this?
Right. I called the company directly, and the first time I called, the secretary answered the phone, and she gave me the runaround, and she told me they'd have someone call me back, and they didn't have anybody call me back.
He's charged you $60 for labor and $10 to repair a leak. But your grandparents say they didn't see anyone fixing a leak, and they were in the kitchen with him. Did you ask him about that?
I haven't talked to him since I received that bill.
Okay.
Now, remember now, 48% of you just voted you've looked in the phone book in order to get the place to repair it. Here's the phone book that advertises this company. It's Abbott's Washer and Dryer Repair, and they have most of their information. Note that they fix all these refrigerators. That's how the Kemples found a company, too. we did some checking after you voted because we didn't let you know which company it was to sway your votes. And let me show you what else this Abbott's has been into before, because that's owned by Mr. Hansen. And look at his former companies. He's been called Linden Home Appliances, Anson Linden, Anson Kenmore, Anson Northland. Then there were some actions by the Attorney General's office because he's violated the laws in Ohio, and now he's called Abbott's Washer and Dryer Repair. Phone books can be dangerous sometimes. This number is in the phone book, and we're showing that to you because there's a denial made to us that they're ever listed in the phone book, that he's even a corporation that way, and there is the phone book. Now remember, 93% of you voted that we should go ahead and pay them a visit unannounced with our cameras. 5% said we should call them up and try to settle it. Only 2% said to forget about it, that it wasn't worth doing. It's tough luck for the Kempels. Well, 93% is one of the highest votes I've ever seen on any show I've had, so we followed out your advice on that. And frankly, it was a very, let's say, hair-raising experience because you got us into some trouble, and here's exactly what you got us into with your vote. Hi, Mr. Hansen.
Who are you?
You Mr. Hansen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm John Steinberg, sir. Qube Television, how are you? Can we speak to you for a minute about repairs and things? Mr. Hansen, we've been contacted by the Kempels, who live up the street, about their refrigerator Freon repair.
Yeah.
And there's some problems on the bill we'd like to discuss with you. We have the bill you gave them, and the first one you gave them was for $140 with no itemization on it, which is, according to Attorney General's regulations, which is actually the law in the state, is not legal. In addition, if you, they told me now afterwards, you told them that you automatically charge for 2 hours minimum. Is that correct?
No.
What's that?
That's a, no, that is a microphone.
Well, who do you represent?
Qube Television, sir.
Well,
We're all getting on television. Plug in, rock and roll. Hey, we're all getting on television. Hey, what's up?
See, there are some problems with what was done, and we'd just like to talk to you about that before we air it, give your side, so if there's anything, if they're not telling us the truth or there's something wrong with that, then we can make sure and have both sides.
You gonna do those in jail?
Nobody's going to jail. We're just trying to get both sides of this.
well, what's the question?
Well, the complaint is when they came out to the house, when you and the other man were out there, they charged them $140 to change the Freon and put in a new valve or something at the bottom. And that the and that they were there, you were there for about a half an hour, and yet 2 hours was charged to them. That they also did not get an itemized bill until a month later. It came this Monday, and I have that bill. And that there is no, they were told also that it would be $125. They were not told it would be another $15 for the service call.
They was told the service calls are $15.
They were told in the house the job's going to cost $125
on the phone. The service call was $15 for going out to their house.
Okay.
The repairs was $125.
Okay, now how about the 2 hour minimum when you were there a half hour?
The 2 hour minimum, they're not charged for that. That's not a 2 hour minimum, that's a 2 hour maximum of the time that could be used on that job if necessary.
But after Mr. Kempel signed this first bill, again, which was not itemized, then it was written on there 2 hours, correct? I mean, you did that after he signed the bill.
All this was written ahead of time.
But not the 2 hours, and then they were charged here for 2 hours work.
Everything was written. They weren't charged for 2 hours work. See what it says there?
$60, 2 men.
We work flat rate. We work strictly flat rate. We don't work by the hour.
Then why was 2 hours put on there?
That's the minimum maximum time it could run to do that job.
But that was put on after the job was done.
No, this was all put on there
No,
before.
it wasn't, sir.
Everything, I got a witness.
Well, so do we. I mean, we have the Kempels there.
I have a witness with me.
Because, you know, it's against the law to do that.
To do what?
Not to tell them in advance that they have a minimum hourly thing of 2 hours. And the they were not told on the phone $15 service call.
Yeah, they were told, there's the secretary that takes the calls, and she quoted, and we also have a recording of that she quoted them a $15 service call.
You have a recording of that?
Everybody calls in.
We tell them what a service call is when they call in.
Okay, now what kind of leaks were repaired on it?
The leaks were the Freon leaks out.
How were they repaired?
We would either tighten them up or whatever, solder them or put stop.
Well, how were these repaired? Were they soldered?
I don't recall. I had another man with me. He done the repair on that. I can't tell you for sure.
Could leaks be repaired within half an hour?
Who are you?
I'm John Steinberg with Qube Television.
You don't owe him nothing. You owe
Well,
him
if
no
you want, we're going to do a show on it. It's up to you if you want to. We did a show last night without mentioning who you were, with giving their side of the story without ever mentioning Abbott.
So if
And we
you
did that
don't
show,
have
and our
nothing,
audience voted 93% to come out here and get your side of the
Yeah.
story, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, you get him the side of the story.
I just wanted you to
That'd be
know
better.
that
Right.
you don't
No.
owe him nothing.
I give him a written estimate.
Well, no, you didn't. This is the only thing he got.
No, that isn't the only thing.
This came a month later. That was delivered on Monday.
I give him another copy besides that there.
This is the only copy he has. That was there when he paid and accepted, and he signed that. Nothing on there as to what was done.
Here's what we done.
Nothing. You'll see. Nothing's on there.
This is the estimate. I give him a bill. Now I don't know what he done with his bill.
This is the bill, sir. There, he signed it and gave you the check. We have that canceled check too.
That's not a bill.
Inspected and received by, and he signed it. And when he gave you the $140 check,
It don't say bill. That there is what we told him it was.
that's
gonna have
all
to
he
be
was
done.
given. And his grandson, Mr. Garrison,
No.
Mel Garrison, was calling here supposedly for a long
We
time.
have a copy. We have a carbon
Yeah,
copy
man.
of what he signed.
Yeah, well, isn't this it? Isn't this the other? Then why did you just bring him this?
He asked for another one
Well,
because he didn't. His grandson won one. He didn't have one. He didn't know what he done with it, so we give him another one.
why did it take you a month to get it?
Well, I don't know why he didn't receive it. We mailed one out, and they claimed they didn't get it, and we mailed one over on Ben's Boulevard, and he claimed he didn't get it, so we took one up and put it in his mailbox.
Right, this week.
That's right.
Well,
did.
we have a record. He's kept a record. Mr. Garrison has, the grandson. Well, this is what he says now, and he's kept a record of the phone calls to you, trying to get it. And the answer that he would get, as late as last week, was, "Well, I don't remember who the other guy was who worked with me, and I don't know yet. We haven't been able to get that together yet." That's what he says. He was told. Is he not telling the truth?
No, we mailed him one copy, or two copies, and they never. He said he never received them.
All right, then. Do you have a copy of a different bill that
we've
you gave
got-
him?
We've got copies that he signed. We got a copy of the original bill, and he didn't. He lost his copy, so we give him another copy.
Can we see that copy now, and that'll prove your side?
Well, I can show it to you, but I don't have it here, and I can produce it if.
Wasn't this
if
your
it be
office?
necessary. No, I don't have nothing here. This is not the office or anything.
Well, this is where your corporation's listed.
No, I don't have
Abbott.
No,
That's where Abbott's registered in the phone book, 1017 East Weber.
Go get the phone book. You get your information wrong. In
No.
fact, you got a lot of wrong information.
Well, didn't you used to be Linden Home Appliances?
Over
Right.
Cleveland Avenue.
And Anson Linden, and
Yeah.
Anson Kenmore, and Anson Northland.
That was different subdivisions.
But it was all you.
Oh, no, it was different owners. I didn't own.
Fred C. Hansen?
Part of it.
Who's Fred C. Hansen?
Me.
You're Fred C. Hansen.
Yes.
He owned. I didn't own those.
What is your first name, sir?
Fred.
Well,
That's Eric.
He's
Fred
a
Eric.
repairman.
I'm a repairman. You got a
because
lot of wrong
we've got
information.
also the Attorney General's actions and they cited you for the same kind for doing work that wasn't done. That's public knowledge
No,
now.
that's not true either.
Oh, I spoke with them this morning.
Yeah, well,
Now that's a fact. That you had several violations of the repair and services rule here in Ohio. And one thing, we took an expert out to the Kempel's home yesterday because we could find no leaks that were repaired on the coils. None. And you say on here, and you were there 20 minutes to a half hour at the most.
I didn't do the repair on the leaks. Now, I don't know who...
You can look at the coils, see all the
other man-
dust, and you'll see there are no repairs on it anywhere.
Did you have the freezing compartment out?
Yes, we did.
You had the freezing
Looked at the
compartment.
whole thing with an expert in this
Well,
stuff. And didn't tell him why we were looking, just wanted to see what he saw done.
I didn't do the repair on the leaks.
All right, now what is the recharge?
That's for recharging the system.
And then what is the $60 labor and service?
That's for the time involved on it.
For a half an hour, plus another $15 to go to the house?
The
That's
15
$75 for a half hour?
The $15 is for the trip out and back, has nothing to do with the repair.
Look what Lazarus charges.
Lazarus
Just to come
charges
to your door,
$28 out there just to go to your
$28 just
door.
Yeah,
walk
but
up to the
a half
door.
an hour for $60?
That wasn't a half hour. That was at least an hour and a half for two men.
No, it wasn't an hour and a half for 2 men,
Well,
sir. It was a half hour.
Well, there's two men out there that can verify that.
Well, we have found no leaks. We have found nothing that should give them a cost of $60. We have found that they were not told about the service call in advance. You tell us he signed something else other than this first bill, but you don't have it here.
I have it. I can produce it.
See, why did you have him sign this then, after the work was done and he gave you the check?
This was before the work was done. That was before any work was done.
Before any work was done?
That's right. That's prior to any repairs.
Oh, Mr. Kemple signed that before the work?
Prior to any repairs.
How about Mr. Kemple wasn't home when the work was started, just Mrs. Kemple, and he came home about 10 minutes later and the work was in progress?
The work was not in progress. She would not okay us to do the repairs till he come in and okayed it.
They were already starting on the Freon, the young man behind the refrigerator.
No, he hadn't started on anything. He was checking the refrigerator.
They were there 5 to 10 minutes and looking at it and working. She had given an okay, according to Mrs. Kemple. Then you went ahead, he came home, and you were there at the most another 20 minutes.
He come in and wouldn't okay the repairs at first. And
why wouldn't he okay them?
Because he said he's going to buy a new refrigerator.
And what did you tell him about that?
She said she wanted it repaired.
Well, they both tell us now that you said the new ones, the double door ones, cost a lot in repairs and they're more trouble than they're worth. It's better off fixing this one.
She insisted on going ahead with the repairs.
Well, they tell a different story.
That's right. He did it. Well, then why did they have it repaired?
Well,
this is the estimate that we give them prior to any repair. And they signed it and okayed it before we done any repairs.
Well, according to them, now we have that slip, and that's the only slip they got.
Well, they got another slip.
But you say you can't show. You said you could show us a copy. Now you don't have it.
I don't have the copy here, but I can produce the copy.
Can you produce that for us tomorrow so we can show that?
I can produce.
That'll prove your side if you have that.
Well, what am I proving?
You're proving that this was signed in advance. That this was not signed. This was not. See, by just having this signed when they gave you the check and the works, and that's a violation of the law.
Was he charging him by hour or by the time?
Flat rate. I have a flat rate charge on there. I don't charge by hour.
If a man can.
Because every other place, well, we haven't found a place yet that charges over $50 to change the Freon and charge it up and go to the house.
Nobody has the same price. Everybody has a different price.
Well, there's a certain unconscionability law too here.
When you go to Schottenstein's, you're going to see a big difference.
You see, they were not told about the $15 in advance. They were not told that it's a minimum. Why did you write 2 hours on there? See, now they told 3 people now tell us that the 2 hours was told to them that is their minimum that you can work when you go out on a job. You have to pay for 2 hours.
That's not true. A job can require up to 2 hours on certain repairs.
Then why on the bill, when you actually finished the work and sent them this itemized bill, does it say 2 hours?
We put the same thing on every bill.
But you weren't there 2 hours, sir.
We didn't charge for 2 hours. We charged a flat rate. See where it says flat rate?
Why did you break it down? Labor, service, 2 men, $60.
That's the way we make ours out. We had a flat rate, and we told them what the flat rate was before we done the repair. They signed this and okayed it before we done any repairs.
How come you've changed names so many times?
I didn't change names. I've always had the same name.
It's just
Linden Home Appliance?
He was working for other people. Now he decided to go into his own business.
Linden Home Appliance, and then another name, Anson Linden, Anson Kenmore, Anson Northland, Abbott. They're all you, according to the Attorney General's office.
Those are different owners of subdivisions.
It's all Fred C. Hansen, though, according to the Attorney General's office.
Well, his information.
For all the complaints? No, they have a lot of complaints there.
They come in through me. All that was subcontract.
See, frankly, I get a little bit suspicious because of the previous action that the Attorney General's office had to take against you for claiming that you did work that wasn't done. And here, these older people who claim they were taken advantage of come up with the same story.
They agreed to everything on that paper.
There was nothing on that paper. When did you deliver that paper?
On the other paper you have there.
There's nothing on the other paper.
This is the bill they signed before.
But you have to give them an itemized bill.
That is the estimate for reconditioning.
Mel Garrison has been calling you since the day you fixed this for an itemized bill, and there have been different stories every day, and he hasn't noted when it was called.
No, we've been over that once.
Well, what can you do about it now? Can we work out anything for them? Do you really think that was fair for that amount of time and putting in Freon?
What do you think? What do you think the?
What would you charge?
What would you charge?
Well, the rate in Columbus for more time, for a half hour more than what they say you were there, and for doing everything properly up front, like itemizing and everything, is about $50.
Well, see, I made it clear we don't work by the hour. We give a flat rate. I come out to a customer's house and quote them a flat rate of what we'll repair a refrigerator for, and they can accept it or reject it.
Okay. I would like to work out something with you in their behalf because
if Lazarus went out and did that, either they'd tell him it would cost them at least $140. I mean, you know, that's last.
No, we called places at random in the phone book and we're told how much by the hour, how much for the service call, how much for the Freon, how much for the leaks.
And what you come up with?
An average of about $50, calling it, getting from 5 quotes from 5 different places at random in the phone book.
$50.
Or less, or less.
So I charge 60
For a whole hour.
That's 10
Everything, including the Freon, including the service trip.
Well,
and I can show you the names. I mean, we'll post those on the show when we do
every
it.
company has different prices they charge.
Yeah, but you got to tell them in advance.
I told them in advance, and this is what they signed.
And
in
then when
advance.
you get the work done, you have to have an itemized bill, not a month later.
You
really got to do that.
They've got an itemized bill.
Well, they don't have it, and you say you can't produce it here now.
If there's any kind of action on it, I can produce the bill.
Okay, see, don't you think we should work out something for them?
I don't know what you mean, work out something for them.
I just, well...
$10 back?
$10, no.
So I overcharge them $10.
You know, for not giving, if you can't prove that you gave a bill in advance...
I can prove it. I've got the bill and I
Well, and that if you can't prove that you told them there was $15 before you went there... And
I
if
can
you
prove that.
And if you can't prove there were leaks repaired, where those coils were gone over with a fine-tooth comb and no leaks were found anywhere, and if you can't prove that you were there for more than a half hour, then we've got, I mean, that's small claims court under the Repairs and Services Act, and that's automatic $200 for them, plus the work.
Well, it's a matter of, comparing that bill with any refrigeration company, and all refrigeration companies charge about that same amount.
No, we checked that today.
Same amount of work.
But we couldn't find any leaks.
Well, you can't find none now, but
you can't find where anything was repaired. It's just covered with dust, and you can tell the paint on it. There's nothing repaired there.
There's
dust. Filmed. We got that on camera.
Dust can't get in the freezing compartment.
Underneath, on the bottom, where you put that new brass thing.
No, up in the freezing compartment.
All right.
That's where they spring leaks in the freezing compartment, not down underneath.
Right, but no one took that off, the back off of that. No one went in there.
You don't have a back.
You're telling me your man went into the freezing compartment?
I don't know.
He did not go into the freezing compartment. He
leak.
stayed back there. He had his pump with his Freon, and that was it. Well, now, it did say that you put on a charging valve, a new valve, right?
Yeah.
Put on a charge. How come they didn't get the old one back?
They don't come from the factory with a charging valve on them. They come hermetically sealed. They don't come with a charging valve. Mm-hmm. Refrigerators don't have a charging valve.
So you added the charging valve?
No, they don't. And when they're made with no charging valve.
They're sealed units, and they don't come with a charging valve.
You have to put a charging valve on it.
Did you give them the box from the new one?
Or they don't come in boxes. They come in by the handful.
Hey, I don't sound rude, but you're really holding us up, and
yeah.
And I'm hearing a lot of harassment in my mind and my heart. You know, just take your harassment somewhere else.
Hey, well, would you bring us the bill and show your side, or else we'll have it this side?
Right. Bring you the refrigerator and let you look.
He's already.
We did. We've already done that. We've done that on camera yesterday.
There was dust underneath.
No, we saw. Well, we looked. Here's my card. If you can bring me the bill tomorrow that shows when the work was done that they got an itemized bill, if you can prove that tomorrow, we'll show that too.
Yeah. Well.
Otherwise, we'll have to just go the other route.
Well, we got the bill and we got everything that they signed, and they lost the bill and wanted another bill, so I give them another bill. I sent 2 bills to Ben's Boulevard, and they come back. So
then you've got them all.
So I finally took the bill up there and put it in their mailbox.
Well, how come you took it out of the envelope you mailed it in then?
Because I didn't want to take it back to Ben, send it back to
If you were going up to the house, wouldn't it be safer to leave the bill in the envelope?
I didn't actually handle myself, so I don't know why it was. The fact is, I think it was in an envelope.
Well, we're going to have this on tomorrow night, and we'll look forward to hearing from you before then.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I want to say something what?
Okay. He wanted to know when the show was, and we told him. That bill, well, of course, was never delivered to us. They did admit that they never did leaks, but they offered the $10 back. Here's the check for $140 that the Kempels paid them. They weren't going to give anything more than $10, but look what showed up mysteriously today in their mailbox. In this envelope, unstamped, $100 cashier check. They received that in the mail today. They've got the $100. They paid $40, which is fair. See you Tuesday night.